You're sitting at a dinner table with friends. Someone makes a joke, everyone laughs. But your mind is still dissecting it 5 minutes later, analyzing the subtext, wondering if you missed the punchline, replaying your own response to see if it landed right. By the time you're ready to contribute to the next conversation, everyone's moved on. And somewhere in your head, a small voice is asking, why can't you just let things be simple? This is the paradox of intelligence. The smarter you are, the more problems you see. The more you see, the harder it becomes to choose. And the harder you choose, the slower you move through life. Intelligence is essentially a pattern recognition machine. Your brain, whether it's scored in the 95th percentile or built a billion-dollar company, is wired to spot inconsistencies, edge cases, and hidden variables that most people miss. This is a superpower in a boardroom. It's a nightmare in a grocery store. Consider Jeff Bezos. In the early days of Amazon, he famously sweated every detail. Not because he was indecisive, but because his pattern recognition system was so sensitive that he could see risks others couldn't. He'd lie awake at night thinking about how to structure customer reviews, how to handle returns, how to position the company for a world he could see forming but didn't exist yet. That overthinking, it gave him a 20-year advantage over his competitors. It also probably cost him thousands of nights of sleep. Or take Elon Musk. Watch him in interviews and you'll see his mind visibly working through problems in real time. He doesn't answer questions simply. He explores the question. He considers unstated assumptions. He builds models in his head. By most people's standards, he's verbose. But that overthinking has resulted in companies that redefined entire industries. Tesla didn't just make electric cars, it forced the entire automotive world to rethink what cars could be. That didn't happen because Musk thought simply. But here's where the script flips. Intelligence without the ability to stop overthinking becomes a trap. There's a psychological phenomenon called the paradox of choice. The more options you can see, the more difficult decision-making becomes. A person with an IQ of 100 can walk into a coffee shop and order coffee. They see regular or dark roast. Done. A person with an IQ of 140 sees regular roast from Colombia or Ethiopia, with or without milk, organic or conventional, supporting fair trade or maximizing freshness. By the time they order, they've lost 5 minutes and still feel uncertain. This happens in careers too. A smart person doesn't just see one path forward. They see 17 paths, each with different trade-offs. Investment banker, sure. Consultant, viable. Start a company, possible. Take time off, that could work too. Each path has subtle advantages and invisible costs. So they ruminate. They make pro and con lists. They analyze. Months pass, opportunities close, and they're still thinking. The research is clear. There's a point of diminishing returns on analysis. Malcolm Gladwell called it the blink principle. Sometimes split-second intuitive decisions outperform exhaustive analysis. A chess grandmaster doesn't think through every possible move. They recognize patterns and trust their pattern recognition system to move faster than conscious analysis ever could. The mistake smart people make is assuming that more thinking leads to better decisions. Sometimes it does. Often it doesn't. Naval Ravikant, an investor and philosopher, talks about this bluntly. He says most people don't suffer from not thinking enough. They suffer from overthinking. They create problems in their heads that don't exist in reality. A decision that should take an hour takes a week. A choice that should be made with 70% certainty gets delayed until they feel 100% sure, and 100% certainty never comes. So, what's the escape hatch? First, accept that perfect information doesn't exist, ever. Second, recognize that the marginal value of additional thinking decreases exponentially. Your first hour of analysis gives you 80% of the insight. The next 4 hours give you 15%. The final 10 hours, 5%. You're in the land of diminishing returns, and you're still grinding. Third, build systems that force decisions. Set time limits. Give yourself a deadline. Tell someone else you've decided. This creates accountability that stops you from endlessly second-guessing yourself. The paradox is, the people who get the furthest aren't always the smartest. They're the smartest people who learn to stop thinking and start moving. They gathered enough information, made a decision based on what they could see, and executed aggressively. They learned to trust their intelligence enough to stop analyzing it. The next time you find yourself 3 hours deep into overthinking a relatively small decision, ask yourself, is the additional clarity I might gain worth the time I'm spending right now? Most of the time, the answer is no. You've already won the game. You're just too busy thinking to notice you've crossed the finish line.